Hey, Sean here from speedcubeview.com. I have a video on Lookahead already. If you don't really know anything about looking ahead, check out that video. I wanted to make something else on it because I still get questions, and the question I see a lot from people is, what should I be looking at, or what should I be looking for? And I think the best thing to talk about that is what to not look at. Looking ahead, just as a recap from the last video, is not something that you have to learn to do. It's just something that you get better at. You're always looking ahead in everything you do in life, so it's not some special Rubik's Cube technique. Now, instead of saying, look at this piece or look for this piece, a better thing to do is to not look at certain things. And the two things are not looking at your hands and not looking at the pieces you are solving, because that should already be planned. So I'm going to go through a CFOP solve and a Roux solve and talk about things that I see people do, and then kind of walk through a solve of what you should be doing. So I'm also just going to do white cross on here, just so it's a little bit easy to follow for some people that just do a single cross. Usually it is white. Side note, if you think about being color neutral, do it right away. Don't wait. The longer you wait, the harder it is. So just try to be color neutral now, and I think it's definitely worth it for CFOP and at least YX2 for Roux. Okay, so looking at this, we've got an okay cross. So now what I'll see people do is they'll plan it out, but then I can tell they're still looking at those cross pieces by either how they're turning the cube, or if the camera's on them, I can see what their head is doing. And they'll do something like this, where they'll go like that. And I can see they're looking at those cross pieces as they do that. There's no reason to watch the pieces if you have planned out those moves. If you can't plan out all four pieces, either just plan out two or take longer than 15 seconds for inspection. When I got into Roux, I was doing 30 seconds to almost a minute inspection at times, because I want to make sure I'm learning to plan out farther. And it's better to take extra time to learn how to plan that out and get faster at it than to not really plan at all and just rush everything. Okay, so now that I've planned out a cross for this new one, my eyes should not be watching those pieces, and they shouldn't be on my hands. So I'm going to, and I'm not planning ahead of the cross right now, I'm just sort of planning this cross. So as I solve this, I can see this orange and blue piece, and it pairs up there. So now that I've planned this out, I want to start looking for the corner here. And since I can't see it in front, I know it's either going to be this back one there, or it's going to pop out here, and it pops out there. So as I'm planning that out now, I want to start looking at the next pieces, and I see this orange, or sorry, the red and green. And now that I'm going to plan out that one, I want to plan out the next one. I see the corner there. So I'm not looking at that red and green piece, and I plan out the orange and green. And now from here, another thing too, I know that I'm not going to have all four edges solved. I'm just going to have two, and by inserting this, it's going to turn it from a bar case to a J case. You can, if you prefer a bar case or a J case, you can insert this like that instead of that. But another thing of looking ahead, you might not be able to plan the OLL, but you know a basic idea of what some of them might be. And if you do two look OLL, well, you know if you're going to have a J case, you know the OLL for that, because there's only one you'd be doing for that. And so as I insert this, now I go into this OLL, and as I solve this one, the PLL isn't something that you can always plan right away, but if you're going slow enough, oh my God, what did I do there? There we go. As long as you're going slow enough, you can spot pieces and plan that out. But again, it's what you're not looking at that's most important, because you can practice avoiding looking at your hands and avoiding looking at those pieces. In my look ahead tutorial, I talk about planning something out, closing your eyes, and then doing it. Planning the next thing out, closing your eyes, because that way you're practicing not looking at your hands or not looking at those pieces. So if you have trouble diverting your eyes from that, try that method where you just close your eyes. Now, with that said, that method, you're not practicing looking ahead, you're practicing not looking at those things, which I feel is more important. So let's do a Roux solve. I'm going to try to plan out at least the first block, if not or at least the first square, if not the first block. And so for here, yeah, this is something that, since I'm still kind of new to it, I'm still working on planning this stuff out, so I don't really care how long it takes me to do this. So I've at least planned out the first square. I know this edge is going to be up here. I know that corner is going to be turned, but I don't have that completely planned out yet, but I know kind of an idea of where it's going to be. So as I do this, I'm watching these two pieces, and I can start inserting those. Now I'm looking at that orange edge, making sure that that is lined up. And since I know that's going to be here, I'm looking for just the next few pieces. And I see this orange and blue is really standing out, but that took my attention right here. So now I'm looking at this orange and blue and inserting that. And then from here, while doing some of these OLLs, or CMLL, whoops, I want to start, I don't need to look at those corner pieces. I just need to look at these edges and know which ones might or might not be flipped. So for here, yeah, I'm just trying to solve this and look at the edges and not look at any corners, especially watching this one down here, because that's one I really need to watch a lot. Wait, what did I do? Oh, I didn't finish it. That's what I did. So, okay, so now from here, I'm just planning out those next ones. Look, now I don't need to look at this. I just need to look at this top layer, and I'm looking at the pieces that are going to be important later on. So I'm not as proficient with Roux, so obviously that was a little more clunky. I'm sure if someone is really good with that, they'll be able to point out some flaws that I just had. But like I said, it's about what you're not looking at. And the blind practice is really good. That's a really good way of practicing not looking at things. But don't worry about really struggling to look at the next piece or find a specific next piece. Just don't look at the pieces you're turning. Going slow is perfectly fine. If your times are slower from going slow, that's great, as long as you're not pausing, because you can increase that speed in time. You have to be turning extremely fast and your pauses be very minimal to have fast turning and those pauses not to have a huge effect on it. Pauses are going to have a much bigger effect on solves than just turning slightly slower most of the time. So thank you very much for watching. Please leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And as always, stop by speedcubeview.com for more news and reviews.